Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Let's just wait for a few people to hop on. So it's Wednesday, the 2nd of August, which I don't expect many people to get on. And even if nobody gets on, I'm still going to talk because it's a beautiful summer evening and I know everyone is probably out enjoying it. But if you do hop on, please say hi. As always, I can see the viewers, but I can't see who it is unless you comment. So please hop on and then we will hopefully get into this in a few minutes. I obviously didn't plan this very well for a summer evening because everyone's going to be out enjoying the weather, but maybe we'll get a few people. Hi, Penny. I hope you're well. This is the first time I've seen you on a video in a while, Penny. Obviously, you have no plans on this lovely summer evening. Okay, who else is hopping on? Usually takes a couple of minutes for people to hop on, but we're going to be looking at food, supplements, and lifestyle for hypothyroidism. I've covered hypothyroidism and thyroid health a lot, including in my thyroid guide that I released maybe 3 years ago. Yeah, it was quite a while ago. A couple of weeks ago, just before the summer started, I did a masterclass on hypothyroidism and helping people understand what it is and the different influences there. So this is kind of a part two where we're going into the food and the supplements, and we will talk a little bit about lifestyle, but I know I went into the lifestyle a lot there back, I believe it was at the end of June, but I know I shared it in the group. It's on my podcast, it's on my YouTube channel, and I believe it's here in the event. I usually, just so you guys know, in the events, I will usually post a lot of studies, as you saw, Michaela, a bit of info, and then I don't delete the events. I leave them there as resources. So if you look back at like events from last year, like the gallbladder one, and even before that, any research or information I had shared up to that event will still be there. I don't delete it. Like, I try to never delete valuable content. You're very welcome, Penny. Michaela, hi. I'm glad you could make it. Tara, hi. Time for a reset. And we're gonna kind of just jump into this because I don't want to keep people too long, and you guys know I ramble a lot. And anyway, so I am going to be kind of referring into the thyroid guide as we go along. And what we're going to start with is the supplements, because people usually want the nitty gritty. Just tell me what to do, tell me what to take. And in that, I'll try to blend like the supplement and then the food sources. So that gives you an idea. And then I'll kind of do a bit of a summary on food at the end there and then touch on lifestyle a little bit. But earlier on, hey Samantha, hey Joe. Oh my God, we obviously all have no plans for this lovely summer evening. So earlier on I had posted like this little infograph, and in it it had the main supplements that are used to support the thyroid. Now, before I go into the supplements, there's two things. One is it's a very hot day and I'm quite thirsty, so I'm probably going to be taking a lot of water. Please excuse me if that's rude, but you wouldn't want me to pass out from dehydration. The second thing is no amount of supplements is ever going to substitute for food. Your food and your lifestyle should always come first, and then we look at the supplemental factor. In some cases, you do need supplements immediately. Chronic diarrhea, for instance. In that case, colostrum immediately. Earlier on, I got a message about a guy whose stomach ulcer burst and was bleeding. Immediately, I'm recommending he goes on mastic gum, and it was a special blend. But the point is, when it comes to thyroid especially, nothing is ever going to make up for what good nutrition and lifestyle will do. as well, you have to also consider, and I do consider this as well, when it comes to supplements, like how much are you willing to spend? Are you looking for quality? Like, what kind of price mark can you put on it? Some people can't put any price mark on supplements, and that's okay. We can totally just do food. But there is some considerations. I don't, although I use supplements a lot, and it just is the environment we live in nowadays with the stresses and the toxins and the soil quality and blah, blah, blah. Supplements generally are a requirement for a lot of people. But some people can't do supplements, like I mentioned. So then we want to look at the food sources there and what can we do there. And it's not as hard as you think. As I always said, the hardest part is doing it. So I can make all these recommendations. I can say, do this, this, and this. But if someone's not willing to do it, then it's only going to go so far. So that's the first thing to understand. Michaela, we're going to get into all of this, so let's get into it. Jennifer, you're not late, don't apologize. Okay, so the first thing we're going to start with today is going to be the famous iodine. Now, we're going to start with iodine and tyrosine because iodine and tyrosine, they make thyroid hormones. So you have either 4 or 3 or 2 iodines attached to a tyrosine molecule. So then you have like your T4 is 4 iodines, T3, 3 iodines, and so on and so on. And the lower you go, it's going to be very rare that you're going to come across T2 or T1 on a test. Like, it's very rare that would be tested. It can be tested, but it's rare. The lower you go on those numbers, the more active the thyroid hormone is, so the more active your metabolism is. So T2 and T1 being the most active forms of thyroid. But in our situation, we want active T3, but we also want our T4 to convert to T3. So when you're getting thyroid tested, the TSH, the one that most people get on their pathology or their thyroid panels, is going to show up as TSH. Most doctors are not going to test T4 or T3, let alone their active or reverse or free forms, because most insurance won't cover it, so they just don't do it. So TSH, that's your signal from the pituitary to your thyroid to say, hey, make hormones. So Michaela, you were asking me about this the other day. So when you see TSH being high, it generally, and generally is very kind of broad range word, it generally tells us that if your TSH is high, it means that your pituitary and hypothalamus, they're basically screaming at your thyroid to make more thyroid hormone because it's not making enough. The body needs more. But the TSH is not always definitive either. That's why we like to look at the other numbers too. Even if all you get is T4 and T3, it gives us some indicator, and then you can get into like TPO, thyroid antibodies and whatnot. But just so you understand, so your thyroid hormone is made out of tyrosine, and that is attached to iodine. So you get your 3 or 4 or 2 iodines attached to your tyrosine. So you definitely need those two. So we'll start with the iodine first, because there's been a lot of talk about iodine in the group. I've been talking about iodine for years. I've been using iodine for years. If you go back in this group, back, it'll go back years on when I started first painting the iodine on my arm. I still have a little bit left today. If you ever see me out and about or in the gym, they're not bruises, it's iodine. So iodine, I did a podcast interview with my friend Lynn Farrow a couple of weeks ago. If you didn't check that out, check it out. It's on YouTube, it's on my podcast. She does have a book. It's awesome. It really fills us in on the need for iodine and how essential it is, but it also kind of highlighted, there's always been this fear factor around iodine, especially the amount you could take. And her research and even Dr. Brownstein's research, it just shows that you can go very high doses of iodine safely, but you do need iodine regardless. Now, iodine is not just great for your thyroid, it's also great for circulation and detoxification. And we got into that on the podcast, and I kind of gave my 2 cents on my experience with iodine, and different recommendations, and how, like in Lugol's, you will have two forms of iodine. You have elemental iodine and then potassium iodide. Most people don't know that the different forms of iodine influence different organs in the body. So one supports the thyroid, one then also supports the PMS and the menstrual cycle. So they do different things. So Lugol's is my preferred form, and I also feel it's safer. You can get iodoral, you can get nasin. Nasin is only one form of iodine, and iodoral I believe has two, but it can be hit and miss getting your hands on it. It can be expensive. You do have to break the tablets. So I like Lugol's because you can apply it topically like I do, and based on how fast it dissolves. So firstly, I do it on the inside of my arms, but you can do it anywhere on your body, your stomach, your legs. If you didn't want people seeing it, I like to do it on my arms because the skin is so thin there that it gets absorbed directly into the bloodstream really fast. And then the slower it starts to absorb, your body's like, hey, I'm good. I don't need any more of this right now. So if this is still here by tomorrow morning or even by bedtime tonight, I'm not going to do it tomorrow because I know I have enough iodine in my system. And you can also track through the different biomarkers we discussed in that podcast. Like if it's too much, you may get diarrhea, you may get very jittery, but it's hard to overdose when you're painting it on. Also, when women get breast tenderness and soreness around PMS, it's been known for centuries that if you paint iodine onto the breasts, it can relieve that pain immediately. So I like the Lugol's because you're dosing topically, but you can drink it if you want to. You can drop it into water. The directions are on it, and then I can give more doses if people have questions. Hi, Diana. Hi, Shannon. Hi, Leanne. Oh, you're all here. So Lugol's would be my preferred one. In the podcast, I spoke about how I was going to increase my dose to see how my metabolism responds. And I've been in touch with Lynn since, and I really like the response my metabolism has got, especially for detoxification, because I have hypothyroidism. I've spoken about it a lot. So I always have to be supporting it, but because of that, and because when I was 280 pounds, because of the extra weight, the crap I was eating, I wasn't exercising, my whole system just slowed down. My circulation got really bad. My detoxification pathways got really bad. And once I started bringing in the iodine a few years ago, all that cleared up. And I spoke about it with Lynn. Now, I don't know how many of you know, but I am a certified iridologist. So studying the iris for different health conditions, but especially I like it for toxicity. And if you look, so I have very blue eyes. And if you look at someone with very blue eyes and you see orange or yellowy or brown tinges in the iris, that generally indicates there's toxicity. And then depending on the position of the iris, it'll tell you like what body part it is in. And mine was in my intestines and my lower body. So the bottom of the iris, you can see like if it's in the legs or around the reproductive system or the liver. And mine was always intestines, liver, legs. That's always where I carried my toxins. I've always had issues with that. But bringing in the iodine, my irises are completely clear now. Yes, I obviously exercise a lot. I do eat pretty good, but I still have some alcohol. I have my treats. I do body brush, so I do think that helps a lot. I do the inversion. I do the stuff, but I still do like have alcohol. I still go on vacations. I still am somewhat normal. But back to the point at hand, I really think iodine made a difference. And the thing with iodine is because you can use it topically, you're not necessarily taking another pill. Yes, you can get the iodoral in a capsule or tablet, But with iodine, if you're already taking supplements, then this is not an extra pill. This is just something that you would apply. I usually do it after I do my teeth in the morning, and that's it done then. So, iodine, super important. If you don't want to get iodine, where would you get iodine? Well, most people know that you're going to get iodine from seafood, also seaweeds, but you got to be careful that they're organic as well. You got to be conscious of the heavy metals aspect. Also, egg yolks are quite high in iodine as well. Not a lot of people know that. I actually, funnily enough, get questions about should I not eat the egg yolk and just eat the egg white. I generally say no, like have the whole egg for all the nutrients. But iodine there, if there's questions, we're going to move on because I have a lot to get through. The next is the tyrosine. So iodine help with trying to gain weight, give my metabolism a bit of a boost. So if you're that's a double-ended question, Michaela, and I think I'll come back to it at the end. I'll do all the questions at the end so we don't get kind of muddled up. So then you've got tyrosine, which tyrosine is the main molecule for thyroid hormone. Generally, I don't recommend people take a tyrosine supplement. If you were going to, it would be called L-tyrosine, and you can get some pretty good ones like Thorne Research, which is probably my favorite supplement company. They do all their own research, they have their own labs, they get studies published. Like, they've been around for a long time, they've got a great reputation. So Thorne Research, they have their own form of tyrosine, which it's pretty good. Like, if I was going to go with anyone, I would trust them. The thing with tyrosine though, it can be contraindicative for people who are already on some sort of thyroid hormone or replacement or medication. So I do think it's better that you're aiming to get your tyrosine out of food. And where do we get tyrosine in food? Well, it's an essential amino acid, and it is essential because your thyroid needs it. It's essential. Where do we get our amino acids? Protein. So you want to be hitting protein targets. And then collagen, which there's an abundance of research on collagen. Collagen is so efficacious. If anyone ever tells you collagen is pointless, it doesn't work, they haven't looked at the research. But collagen is going to contain all of your essential amino acids plus all the rest of the amino acids. So there's 9 essential amino acids, and then there's 20 amino acids in total, and a lot more that we haven't even named yet. But collagen is going to contain that. Very easy way to get that into your diet. Just a couple of scoops throughout the day, can be added to hot or cold drinks or meals or yogurts or smoothies or soups or stew or whatever you want. I add extra collagen in if I'm making pancakes for the family or cakes or whatever. I literally sprinkle that shit everywhere. So that's really easy. If you're taking a good protein powder, you're going to get tyrosine there. All animal products, so not just animal meats. You've got your cheeses, your creams, your yogurts, and then also bone broth is going to be great for tyrosine too. If you do get a tyrosine supplement, generally the recommendation is around 1,000 milligrams, but if you do get it, you can always reach out to me, and I'll take a look at which supplement that you got and then the dosage and the timing. So I'm not rushing along here, so please let me know if I go too fast. I just want to make sure we cover a lot. The next one I shared earlier in here in the event, I'm going to hop straight into this because we all talk about this a lot, we hear about it a lot, and that's vitamin D3. And the first thing I want to get off my chest is, just because it's summertime and it's scorching out and there's lots of sun does not mean that you don't need a vitamin D supplement. You do. You need, when you live in the northern hemisphere at northern latitudes, you need vitamin D all year round because the frequency and the rays, they're just not strong. They're not as strong as if you were living along the equator in Ecuador and southern Florida. So you still need it, even if you reduce your vitamin D to say 3 or 4 thousand. And some people right now are saying, "What? I only take 1,000 all year." So this is my opinion based on all the different conditions I see, not just thyroid, the mental health, the inflammation, the aches and pains, the immunity, the whole lot. These are the ranges that I like to see. And the good thing is vitamin D3 is pretty affordable. Like you can get Natural Factors one for, I think it's 90 tablets for 2.99 or something. Like vitamin D is pretty affordable. So you do need it in the summer. The UV rays here, and there was research about this, and I shared it somewhere. And it was basically, I can't remember the name of the doctor, but he did a study. He put all his students on top of one of the tallest buildings in Boston at this time of the year, and they had basically no clothes on, so like swimsuits and stuff, put them out there all day, measured their D3 levels before and after. There was pretty much no change in their D3 levels whatsoever. So when you're above a certain latitude, you do need D3. So D3 has been shown to be essential for the thyroid. Not only has it got great anti-inflammatory potential, and if you remember, for those of you that caught the first thyroid class, I had mentioned that the majority of people who have hypothyroidism, they have Hashimoto's, which is an autoimmune disease. So up to 80% of people, so not everyone, but a lot of people. And if you have any sort of autoimmune disease, you for sure have inflammatory issues, most likely systemic, but especially in the gut or the gastrointestinal tract. And D3 is essential for that. And D3 is also essential for the metabolism because it directly influences the mitochondria as well. So D3 is something I think regardless everybody should be taking because it's so important for mental health. It actually helps to heal the gastrointestinal lining. And when we think of that, we're thinking leaky gut. And honestly, the amount of people I speak to, nearly everybody has some sort of gastric issues, which is not surprising because stress. You know, like I said, about 80% of people have Hashimoto's, which is an autoimmune disease condition causing hypothyroidism. So let's say 80%. 100% of people have stress. 100, like nobody is exempt. Everybody has stress. And if they're kids and they haven't had stress yet, they're gonna have stress. This is just how it is. So D3, totally essential. Yes, Rose, everywhere. Then the next one we're gonna look at is magnesium. Magnesium is essential for so many functions in the body. It's recorded it's essential for 300, but I would go as far as to saying into the thousands. But you need magnesium for the thyroid. Magnesium, not only is it an all-star nutrient helping us poop, helping with muscle cramps, spasms, twitches, it's a relaxant. Magnesium citrate acts like a slight sedative. And magnesium citrate specifically is the one that we kind of use with hypothyroidism. And just to help you understand that a bit, when it says citrate, that means it'll go into the citric acid cycle, and your citric acid cycle is like your Krebs cycle. It's your energy cycle. And I know it's confusing because it's got so many names: Krebs, citric, ATP cycle, energy cycle. It's your metabolism basically. But citrate has been the one to be is the one to be shown to be most helpful for supporting thyroid function and regularity. Low magnesium has been shown to drive the risk of Hashimoto's and worsen symptoms by increasing thyroid antibodies as well. And some studies suggest that hypothyroidism rates, even the subclinical hypothyroid, which means basically your thyroid hormone levels are in the normal range, but you experience the symptoms, which is kind of what you were saying, Michaela, but your numbers weren't actually in the normal range, or what I would consider the normal range. But when it comes to magnesium, these studies show that people who take magnesium, their numbers were much lower when they had adequate magnesium than people who didn't. So the thyroid needs magnesium, and it's an essential mineral, and it, along with your other minerals, it's needed to convert that inactive thyroid hormone to the active one. So inactive being your T4 and then the active being T3. And we can discuss a little bit about reverse T3 if you guys want, just to kind of give you the simple lowdown. And like I mentioned, magnesium helps with all these other things. It can help with sleep, anxiety, constipation, and constipation is one of the biggest markers for hypothyroidism. And I had mentioned, I'm just going to touch on it here. I had mentioned in the other class, in the Thyroid 101, that your thyroid and your adrenal glands, they're basically sisters. So what happens to one happens to the other and vice versa. So if your adrenal glands crash and burn out, your thyroid's going to suffer. If your thyroid crashes and burns out, your adrenals are going to suffer. So like, so my sister lives in Ireland still, but she'll be thinking something at the same time I am, and we'll text each other. So we have, sisters have this connection, and it's the same thing with the thyroid and the adrenals. And as we know, or we should know, magnesium is it is the top mineral for the adrenals. It's number one. So if you're taking adequate amounts of magnesium, you're going to support not just the thyroid, but also the adrenals, and then loads and loads of other functions in the body. Magnesium citrate, like I mentioned, is the one we generally use. I also like malate. I talk about both of them a lot. There are other forms. I've posted lists in the biohacking group. If you're going to take that, generally the dosage is going to be 300 to 400 milligrams a day. If you've never taken magnesium before, I recommend that you start maybe 150. You can get some that are 125 just to see your bowel tolerance, because you may not need a lot if you're getting a lot of magnesium out of your diet. Basically, your bowels are going to tell you. But if you think you need more magnesium and you are having bowel issues like pooping a lot, you can split the dose across the day, and then you shouldn't have those bowel issues. So where do we get magnesium in our diet? Dark chocolate, my absolute favorite. Dark chocolate, always organic, 80 to 100%. Easy. Green, everything green. Fruits, vegetables, but especially your green vegetables. So you think of it like this. Magnesium is a mineral. It comes from the earth. So anything that grows from the earth is going to have magnesium in it. And yes, chocolate grows from the earth. But then that also means your animal products, your animal meats are going to have magnesium as well. Because what do cows do? What do bison do? They eat the grass. So they're eating the minerals and then they're absorbing it. But they're also mammals like we are. So they contain magnesium too. So I don't want this to sound too cliche, and we will kind of summarize the nutrition in a bit, but it is, whether or not people like to hear it, it is going to come back to the whole foods aspect of things. White rice has some magnesium in it, sweet potatoes does. Before we go on, I don't recommend brown rice. I don't recommend whole grains unless they're sprouted or fermented. So my attitude when I'm teaching nutrition is the hypoallergenic factor of the food, and then also the blood sugar load that it has there. And obviously the hypoallergenic aspect of food is very important when you have hypothyroidism, because if you have an allergenic or immune response to food, you are going to drive up that systemic inflammation. Hey Tanya, hey Christy, it has been a while. Magnesium bisglycinate, you can take that. Yay for good quality chocolate. You can take magnesium bisglycinate, but it's not as efficacious for the thyroid as the citrate is. And in some people, they just don't feel anything with bisglycinate. It just doesn't happen with anything. But you'll know your body as well. I'm just giving ideas. You will know your body. So the next one we're going to jump into myo-inositol. I get a lot of questions about this, and I swear I've been meaning to do a post and a podcast, but if you guys saw my list of things to do, I'll eventually get around to it, but we'll discuss it a little bit now. So myo-inositol is part of a group of compounds called inositols, and they're all involved in hormone signaling, including the thyroid hormone signaling. Myo-inositol is also involved in helping to regulate metabolic processes. It's involved in helping with your circadian rhythm and your wake sleep cycles. There's research on myo-inositol helping people improve sleep quality. It's also been connected to weight loss, which people have asked me about, and blood sugar regulations. And I suppose the people who reach out to me, they're really kind of talking about its effects and the research on insulin resistance. And it's also been shown to help with PCOS. So if you haven't heard of this molecule before, I will do a more in-depth podcast on it soon. But when it comes to myo-inositol for the thyroid, it can really help with signaling those thyroid hormones, and studies have shown that myo-inositol works alongside selenium, which we're absolutely going to get into because selenium is so important to support healthy thyroid functions, especially in people that have Hashimoto's, where they're generally going to have lower thyroid antibodies or higher thyroid antibodies, and myo-inositol will help to lower that. So we're kind of getting that boost in the hormone signaling, but it's also then lowering the antibodies, but then you're also getting the blood sugar regulation. It can help with sleep. Of course, sleep is going to be anti-inflammatory. So it's been shown to help with a lot. If you were going to buy myo-inositol, look for a good brand. So I would look for Thorne first. I haven't checked to see if they have a good one. I saw another one, I can't remember the name of it. I'm pretty sure Now Foods have one. The recommendation is 2000 micrograms, so mcg, a day. Myo-inositol is a sugar, so you will get, it's a sugar molecule, so you will get some through some starches, but not the same impact as you would get from a supplement. So I'm taking as much notes. Well, this is going to be recorded as well, so you can always look back on it. Michaela. So let's jump to selenium, because I really should have put selenium after tyrosine. So remember, we've got tyrosine makes, it's basically the backbone of our thyroid hormone, and then we've got our iodine that attaches to the tyrosine. But in order for the thyroid hormone to be converted into its active form, we need some enzymes. So enzymes are catalysts. They basically make shit happen in the body. That's what they do. Whenever I'm describing certain enzymes, especially the likes of like the ones that clean up the body, like serrapeptase, some digestive enzymes, proteolytic enzymes, I'm always talking about, like, imagine them like little Pac-Mans going through your body, and they're just eating up the damaged proteins, the scar tissue, the inflammatory tissues in the body. But then you also have the enzymes that make stuff happen. And selenium is essential for helping convert. So selenium is connected to 3 different types of enzymes that help make the active thyroid. So your active is the one that's going to attach to the cell receptors and make stuff happen, like increase your metabolism, make new hair grow, make you have a bowel movement, make you have energy. So you need selenium for that. Also, selenium is a cofactor or a supporting nutrient for iodine, if you're going to take iodine, you should definitely be taking selenium. Now, I like selenomethionine, which is the active bioavailable form of selenium. I personally take N-acetylcysteine with selenomethionine, and that is by Now Foods. And just one of them a morning when I put my iodine on, I'll take one. That way, so N-acetylcysteine is your precursor to glutathione, and glutathione is your master antioxidant to help with like scavenging free radicals, keeping inflammation down, keeping your immune system high, keeping your liver functioning. So you're also getting that aspect, and glutathione is pretty important for not just the thyroid but the whole body. I mean, let's be honest, if I went into every supplement and what it does, I could connect them all back to supporting the thyroid. But these are going to be like the top ones. Where do you get selenium? Salmon. Salmon is great for selenium. Other seafood like shrimp. So anything that has that kind of redness, that will be great. Also Brazil nuts. So if you're going to get Brazil nuts, and there are other nuts and seeds will have trace levels of selenium, but Brazil nuts are going to be the best. If you're going to get Brazil nuts, they have to be organic. You want to keep them in the fridge so they don't go rancid, and you're really only having 3 a day, maximum 4, because too much selenium can be a problem, and then you can get selenium toxicity. And Brazil nuts are very high in selenium. Like you could be looking at 400 milligrams of selenium in like 3 Brazil nuts, so it is pretty high. But I like that because even if someone's fasting, they can still have 3 Brazil nuts to support their thyroid and metabolism, and that won't break the fast. So, yeah, like if there's any questions, put them below. I'm going to keep going. So next up is we'll do the omega-3 fatty acids. So Michaela, you asked about that. So omega-3 fatty acids, they're essential for many, many things, especially for brain health. Most of your brain is made up of fat. It's your brain that signals to the thyroid to make the thyroid hormone to keep everything going. It's your brain that signals to your adrenals what's going on. Things are cool and calm, or things are crazy and stressful. It's your brain. You want to maintain a healthy brain. And the prime nutrient for doing that is going to be the EPA and DHA. So your omega-3 fatty acids. I think most people know my go-to omega-3 fatty acid is pure krill oil. Jennifer, we spoke about this earlier. Now, if you can't do pure krill oil, and there's lots of different ones, I try to recommend the one that's most affordable, but it's still efficacious. But I have recommended other ones. One of my clients, you'll know who you are, her husband just had macular surgery a couple of weeks ago, so surgery on his eyes, and he was struggling to recover. So we got him a higher grade krill oil, which was a lot more expensive. We're talking like $60 a bottle, but he recovered really, really well. So they're all amazing. I obviously try to be conscious of the cost of things though. So Jennifer is like, no, this is the cheapest one, sorry. But you can get cod liver oil, is great for EPA and DHA. You want to try get wild caught. Those of you that are vegan, you can get or even vegetarian, you can get algae oil. That generally comes in a tincture, so dosing can be kind of a bit finicky, but you can get all. Amazon, dare I say, is great for a lot of this stuff. But my go-to would be the pure krill oil. So when it comes to omega-3 fatty acids, So pure krill oil, I'm not getting into the details. I have a video on my YouTube channel. Just scroll down through like the video history, and it basically goes through the differences between pure krill oil and fish oil, the efficacy, the bioavailability, which crosses the intestinal lining and the blood-brain barrier more efficiently, blah blah blah. When it comes to omega-3 fatty acids, though, they're very anti-inflammatory. And yes, sometimes you have to do a higher dose because your body needs it, but they are one of the most anti-inflammatory molecules out there. And because of that, not only does that help with the inflammation that's associated with hypothyroidism, but it also can help with other autoimmune conditions where really systemic and chronic inflammation, it is the driving factor of the problem. It really is like the fuel on the fire. If you can push down inflammation, then you can really push down your autoimmune response or your hypothyroidism and start to regulate your levels. So when I'm making recommendations, I'm usually, and this is where the research is, I'm usually around 2000 milligrams of whatever it is a day. This is really where the research is from 2000 onwards. But there's some people I've had to superdose up to 6000 milligrams a day. But it does work. It's very effective. It helps prevent any further damage from happening to the thyroid cells as well. Oxidation, I did a post in here last week, like in the group, and I was speaking about oxidation is basically rusting in your body. So the krill oil can help prevent that rusting from happening. But cod liver oil, if you get a good one, Michaela, you can totally use that. Okay. Next one, we're going to try not to lose my train of thought. Next one, B vitamins, especially B12 and B5. So both are essential for both the thyroid and the adrenals because they help to make not only the metabolic hormones, but your sex and your stress hormones. So like if you're trying to make stress hormones, the first thing you got to take is your B5. So B5, then that's going to get converted into the sex hormones. That cascade happens. The one thing that's going to mess up that hormone cascade, if anyone can guess, is going to be stress. Is going to mess up whether or not you make sex hormones out of your B vitamins or you make stress hormones. The stress is the factor there. You know, like on a train track and you change the tracks. So if everything's going well and we're all going to the right on the train track, I don't know what it's called, but you know what I mean. And then stress comes in and it just clicks the track. And now those hormones, those precursors for hormones, they're going to your stress track. They're no more going to your happy hormone, sex hormone track. So stress is going to be a big factor there. But research shows us that vitamin B12 deficiency is linked to Hashimoto's. It's linked with higher thyroid antibodies. There was another study, and I can cite these studies if you want. Like I can post them below if you want to take a look at them, but I know not many people do. This one won't open for me right now, but it basically found that 40% of the participants in the study with hypothyroid also had vitamin B12 deficiencies. Does anyone know where we get our vitamin B12? And remember, I mentioned that most people I talk to have gastric issues, so they have some sort of gut issues. So vitamin B12 is made in our gut. It's made through the bacteria in the gut, and it's really made through red meats, including like red seafood like our salmon. That's where we get most of our vitamin B12. I think there's a little bit of confusion that people think you get vitamin B12 out of green vegetables. You don't. It's through our animal products, and it's also water soluble nutrient, so it gets depleted pretty fast as you sweat, as you use it up, as you pee. But also stress depletes B vitamins. So my eyes kind of wander when I tried to remember what I said recently. I did do a post recently that said when you're stressed, the top two molecules or nutrients that go first, Your B vitamins, magnesium. Both of those go first. Remember what I said? Your adrenals and your thyroid, they're sisters. If you burn out your B vitamins and your magnesium because your adrenals are stressed, nothing left for your thyroid. Now your thyroid starts to struggle. So B vitamins, I like a good B complex because you get the methylfolate. Well, depending on the brand, you also get a bit of biotin, which has been shown to be very important for metabolism. When people hear biotin, they usually think of hair, but it's actually the metabolism and the thyroid that supports the hair growth. So back to our whole foods there, animal products, especially animal meats. And the next one is vitamin A. Vitamin A is super important, especially if you think you have some sort of anemia or low iron or low hemoglobin or something. Vitamin A is important. Not everyone needs to take vitamin A, but it is a great option. You should at least be getting it out of your foods. It is a fat soluble nutrient, so you will get vitamin A out of like your nuts and seeds. You'll get some in sweet potatoes, you'll get some in carrots. Very important for your eyes. Very important for your skin health. Vitamin A can be great for the immune system. What I've found is when people have skin conditions, vitamin A can really help erase that, like dermatitis, any sort of flaky, itchy, eczema kind of thing. Vitamin A can help with that. And there was also some research that showed high doses of vitamin A combined with like an anti-candida protocol. So you're looking at 60,000 milligrams a day, which is a lot because generally people are taking like 10,000 milligrams, but 60,000 milligrams, so 20,000 3 times a day, can really help with the fight against candida. Hey Stephanie. So back to vitamin A. Vitamin A, there was a study on women who supplemented with vitamin A that found that it lowered TSH and could help with subclinical hypothyroidism. Another study concluded that vitamin A can support healthy thyroid function. It helps inhibit TSH by downregulating a gene that's required for its production. So vitamin A is almost like a sirtuin in that it's triggering gene expression, and it's also like a cofactor or a complementary nutrient to zinc, to help convert that inactive to active thyroid. So we'll look at zinc next. If you're taking Brazil nuts, you will get some vitamin A in there. And then back to the whole foods again. And I know somebody's going to ask about peanuts and cashews because people love peanut butter. That would not be something I would do with hypothyroidism. I think I spoke about that in the first one. I basically was saying like, so peanuts and cashews are very inflammatory and we're trying to push down the inflammation. So if you have hypothyroidism or Hashimoto's, you pretty much want to be avoiding the peanuts and the cashews unless like you're soaking them like crazy and you're sprouting them. Otherwise, like, I'm sorry to say, peanut butter, you can't really do it if you have hypothyroidism. Snickers, probably not a great idea. There's lots of other options, but I know a lot of people are big peanut butter fans. Hey Julian. Okay, so we've covered, what have we covered so far? So we did iodine, we did tyrosine, we did D3, we did magnesium, we did myoinositol, we did selenium, we did our B vitamins, we've done our vitamin A's. Let's jump to zinc next. And I'm watching the time, so please, if you have questions, pop them in there. We'll do zinc, copper, iron, because they all go together, and then turmeric. And then there's some considerations I think I'll throw in. So zinc is a mineral that's needed for thyroid hormone activation, like I just mentioned, and it works hand in hand with vitamin A. It helps with not only the activation but also the thyroid production. It helps to regulate those enzymes that I spoke about with selenium that make the active form. So it's not only helping with the hormone production, it's helping with the enzymes, it's helping with the whole pathway, because zinc is very important for inflammation as well, but also for healing the gastrointestinal lining. So if your autoimmune issues are because of gut issues, the zinc can really make a difference there. And zinc deficiency has been potentially connected to the thinning of the hair. Now, thinning hair and hair loss are different, just to be clear, but zinc deficiency has been shown to help with thinning hair, which of course many people know. Hair loss and not having your full head of hair can be very much a symptom of hypothyroidism. So it is a trace mineral. It is pretty much essential in my opinion. So selenium, vitamin A, zinc, they all work together. So you can supplement with zinc. Zinc is also, if for those of you who've forgotten, and I'm kind of rushing along here, zinc is amazing for helping to regulate female hormones. All you're looking at is 25 milligrams a day. Zinc picolinate, it can make a huge difference. You will get zinc from your nuts and seeds and your green vegetables and your animal products because, again, it's a mineral. It comes out of the ground. Anything that comes out of the ground, you have to think of, well, anything that grows out of the ground or something that's eating stuff out of the ground, it's going to have my minerals in it. So I like the 25 milligram a day dose. Usually I'll do that in the morning. I found it made a huge difference to my hormones as well. And I recommended it to loads of people. And then if you did get some sort of flu or virus, you could just increase the dose and it will help your vitamin C work better. Zinc is essential for the immune system and white blood cells. Copper, another mineral. I posted about copper bracelets the other day, but copper, where we'd get copper, like my favorite source of copper is going to be dark chocolate. Dark chocolate is high in copper. It's high in all the minerals, manganese, zinc, magnesium, copper. So if you're just having dark chocolate to start your day, you're already supporting your thyroid. You're saying, here, thyroid, like, let's go. But also these minerals are essential for the adrenals, which is why I encourage my clients to have dark chocolate in the morning, because I know, whether or not they know it, their day's going to be stressful. So they need this kind of pool of minerals to pull from. You'll also get some of these minerals in a good quality sea salt as well. And then, of course, your nuts, seeds, green vegetables, root vegetables, your meats and stuff like that. So copper helps with thyroid hormone production, but also regulates how much thyroid hormone gets absorbed into the cells. Thyroid hormone levels have shown to be lower in people with a copper deficiency, but this also connects to iron as well. A lot of people who have hypothyroidism, they'll also report not just the fatigue that comes with hypothyroidism, because you think like thyroid is directly connected to metabolism. If your metabolism is not working, you're not making energy, of course you're going to be fatigued. But then people generally will get their iron levels tested as well. So they'll come back to me and they will also say, well, my doctor says I have low iron or I have anemia or my ferritin levels. None of the iron tests that are available to family doctors nowadays are accurate. They're testing the ferritin or the iron levels in your blood. Most of our iron that's bioavailable, it's actually contained in the tissues and in the bone, and they're not testing that. So those numbers, not that they're totally not helpful, they're not the complete picture. They're not accurate. But what we do know, and there's a lot of research, and if you want to learn more about this, because it's really fascinating, I've done loads of posts on it. But there is a guy, he would be considered one of the leaders in copper research. His name is Morley Robbins, and he's just like a wealth of knowledge. But he explains it in, well, what I believe is a easily digestible way, but all his research has kind of directed us back to look, all of these diagnoses of low iron and iron deficiencies and anemia, it's actually a copper deficiency, because copper is required to, along with vitamin A, they all go synergistically to help your body metabolize the iron and then utilize it. So if you're not metabolizing the iron and utilizing it, then yeah, it's not going to work. It's going to look like it's not there, and you're feeling like all the side effects from it too. So apart from dark chocolate, where do we get our copper? Seafood is a great source of copper, especially oysters, which are so gross to me. But if you like oysters, go to town on them. There, I recently did a list of copper in here the other day. Let me see, can I find it? Because someone had asked me for a list, so I did it really quick. Might go a couple of minutes over. I'm trying to rush. But copper, isn't it always the way that nothing works when you want it to work? Um, and I have a teenager who's probably connecting with NASA in the bedroom now on his computer, so that means my Wi-Fi suffers. But at least we've been okay so far. Anyway, the copper list is in the biohacking group. I'll reshare it again once everything starts working properly for me. So back to iron. So you absolutely need copper and vitamin A to help metabolize iron. You don't have to take all these supplements. You can get it from foods, and the easiest way is going to be your dark chocolate. Iron is obviously involved in many processes in the body, your energy production, which would connect to your thyroid function. Iron is needed for the immune system, as we were talking about earlier, Jennifer. Red blood cells, of course, are made up of iron, but red blood cells also make your white blood cells, so you need that for immunity. Low levels of iron have been shown to lead to hypothyroidism, but I hesitate there because I think maybe the hypothyroidism could be causing the low iron, if that makes sense, because everything is slowing down. So if you're not metabolizing the iron and you're not getting the other nutrients, then I suppose it's all full circle, it's all connected. But iron helps with the T4 to T3 conversion as well. So iron, where do we get our foods? Well, you can get iron from a lot of places, a lot of your animal products, anything out of the ground, again, because iron is a mineral. People with hypothyroidism and Hashimoto's have been known to cook with cast iron. Just make sure it's a real cast iron pot or frying pan, and that you can Google how to clean it properly as well. And that has been shown to be somewhat helpful, because as you're cooking, some of the iron will be absorbed into the food. You can, of course, get an iron supplement. Most people prefer a ferritin supplement. Thorn Research, again, they do a very good ferritin supplement. So those would always be the people I'd go to first, and most of their supplements are priced pretty well. The next one, the last one, well, it's not so much the last one. This I'm going to dump into other considerations. So you have turmeric, you have ginger, you have cinnamon, you have chlorophyll, you have colostrum. So the turmeric, the ginger, the cinnamon, amazing for inflammation. They contain curcumin. Most people think of turmeric, but they all have some sort of curcuminoid, which is an active compound that helps with inflammation and antioxidants, and it's been shown to help protect against oxidative damage. When I'm doing stuff like this, even berberine, I like to pair it with my fatty acids just to get some of that fat kind of binding aspect. But you can get curcumin that is like liposomal as well. I did a podcast with an Ayurvedic doctor a couple of months ago, and she spoke a lot about turmeric and the curcuminoids and the percentage. So you could go look for that if you want to kind of get more informed. But curcumin has been shown to help reduce the size of thyroid nodules, and I do put that down to the anti-inflammatory aspects. Like just like collagen rose, cinnamon, ginger, I sprinkle that shit everywhere. I use them more than I use turmeric, and that's just out of habit. I put cinnamon and ginger in my black coffee every morning. Cinnamon always in my protein shakes. When I'm making like any sort of baking, loads of cinnamon and ginger in those. But that's the anti-inflammatory aspect, where the chlorophyll is going to help with the iron aspect. Chlorophyll is a blood builder. So chlorophyll helps with stem cells and red blood cells. So when people have low red or white blood cells, chlorophyll is my first go-to, and it usually works like gangbusters. We get bloods taken a month or two later, and the red blood cell count is back up. So chlorophyll's awesome like that. Chlorophyll also is going to help with not just the inflammation, but the detoxification pathways. So earlier, Michaela, I did a post in here saying if you have hypothyroidism, you have to be careful with perfume, because perfume is going to be a toxin. It's also going to cause a histamine reaction. That's why people get headaches, they get nausea. Some people will even faint or vomit from just perfume, even though they don't connect the dots, travel sickness, all that. But chlorophyll can help your body bind to those toxins and detoxify. And the more you can get toxins out, the more you can push down that inflammation, and all the other symptoms work a lot better. And then colostrum. Colostrum is one of my favorite products for gastrointestinal health and healing. Colostrum, not only is it going to provide you with the immunoglobulins and the healing proteins that you need in your gut, it is going to work synergistically with zinc. And if you do have diarrhea or anything that's going to indicate an inflammatory response in the gut, especially if you have diverticulosis, which I have, or ulcerative colitis, or any sort of inflammation there, colostrum would be my go-to. There's a lot of research. I did a whole podcast episode with Angela, I can't remember her second name, from Sovereign Laboratories. So those are one of the leaders in colostrum, and we just went into all the ins and outs on colostrum. And I've done a couple other solo podcasts on colostrum myself. And then lastly, you're welcome, Tara, and I'm finishing now. Lastly would be resveratrol. So our polyphenols, but especially resveratrol, can be really good. Not only is it a genetic expression activator, meaning it can help your genes express in a positive way, but the polyphenols have been shown to be very anti-inflammatory and metabolically supportive. So you don't have to get a resveratrol supplement. You could just eat a ton of berries. There was one study that showed 250 milligrams of strawberries, I'm going to add in the organic part there, a day. Yeah, 250 milligrams of strawberries a day. I think it was over a month or two, reduced all markers of insulin resistance and pre-diabetes and blood sugar issues. And they put it down to the polyphenols in it. And look, I've said this many times, the people that find weight loss easier and keep weight loss off are those who consume a lot of polyphenols in their diet. Where do we get our polyphenols? We get lots of polyphenols from all our berries, but especially cranberries. If you can tolerate raw cranberries, go for it. But cranberry tea, if you can make your own good cranberry juice or find a good cranberry juice. Potentially, I came across a study this morning, because I do most of my studying in the morning. That's why I post really early in here anything I come across. Cranberry extract that people use for UTIs potentially could aid metabolism and weight loss. So I'm going to look into that a bit more. Black tea, very high in polyphenols. Coffee, super high in polyphenols. Green tea, dark chocolate, very high in polyphenols, olives, balsamic vinegar, extra virgin olive oil. Most fruit and vegetable is going to have polyphenols in it. And again, the research shows us that people who have the highest amount of polyphenols in their diet have the strongest metabolism, so they see the best weight loss, but they also keep it off. And there's other factors there, like the microbiome and the microbes get involved there too. Okay, so I kind of went off there. I said a lot there, didn't I? So, Michaela, I'll jump back to your question. That will give anyone else any time for um, posting a question. As for lifestyle, look, most people at this stage know they should be moving, they should be exercising. If you have thyroid issues, you're going to have inflammation. Sleep is number one when it comes to that. If you have adrenal issues, sleep is number one, because sleep is where we reduce our inflammation, specifically in REM sleep. That's where we detoxify and push down inflammation. And then you want to be active, move more than you sit. You don't have to go to a gym, you don't have to work out. Move. I did another post. I know, I do a lot. Basically showing that fidgeting and just shivering and just pacing on the phone and just like twiddling. And you know, when I talk, I move my hands a lot. All of this contributes to NEAT. Through your whole day, NEAT really is the biggest factor in your energy expenditure, followed then by brain activity. Your brain would use the next load of energy, and then your workouts, like, it depends on what you're doing, but it's not going to be a huge part. It is going to be important for a lot of people. I'll have another video coming on that soon, but you don't have to exercise, but you do need to move. But sleep, move, sunshine, whole foods, and whole doesn't mean like whole grain or anything, like real foods, not processed junk foods, but they're okay once in a while, because you do have to live, you have to find balance. And then the last one, I would say, like, laughing, love, the social factors, relationships, like, that's so important. Laughter, what is the best counter agent for stress? Well, it's going to be laughing, it's going to be singing, it's going to be orgasms, spending time with your best friend and having fun. Like, they're just going to turn stress off immediately. And once stress goes down, most of my clients, they'll come back from a vacation either the same weight or even lower, because when you go on vacation, you leave all your problems behind, and like, you leave the inflammation behind with it. It's incredible how it works. People that get gallbladder attacks nonstop every day, they go away for 2 weeks and they come back and they're like, I didn't have a gallbladder attack for 2 weeks. Yeah, because the inflammation was pushed down. Or people with aches and pains. Oh, my pains were gone in my shoulders. Yeah, because the inflammation was gone down. You were having fun. So there's that. Michaela, back to your question, because it really is a double-edged sword question. Iodine is going to improve metabolism. It's going to help to improve how your body utilizes food. It will give your metabolism a boost, but it's not going to help with weight gain per se. Weight gain comes down to calories. It really does. So if you're struggling to put on weight, there's going to be a couple of things there. One, you should get tested for hyperthyroidism. You should maybe get a stool test, see if there's maybe some parasites, something happening there. Look at your gut. If you're having constant diarrhea, you're not going to be absorbing any of the calories or the nutrients. So that would be like ulcerative colitis can cause weight loss, and other gut issues. You would speak to your doctor about that to get a gastroenterologist to check, because there's a reason why you're not absorbing those calories. But weight gain comes to the calories. If you want to gain weight, you eat foods that contain carbs and fats. You eat pizzas, donuts. Well, you can do it a healthy way as well, but really, if you want to gain weight, like, you would be adding extra virgin olive oil into your protein shakes. You would be putting butter and cheese onto your sandwich. But see, that's what I said. This is a really double-edged sword question, because when you start to combine fat and carbs together, you create lipopolysaccharides and you cause blood sugar issues. Lipopolysaccharides cause systemic inflammation. Like in a petri dish, you can put lipopolysaccharides on a tissue or on a nerve, and you will give that tissue or a nerve some sort of autoimmune disease or disease. This has been shown in research. As much as I know people don't like to hear it, but for sure, if you're trying to gain weight, like my teenager's trying to gain weight now, and I'm like, eat this, eat this, eat this. So in this case, he's eating like spoonfuls of pumpkin seed butter, because that's high in zinc as well. Pumpkin seeds, organic raw pumpkin seeds, I forgot to say this, my favorite seeds for women for zinc and female hormones. But you can get pumpkin butter, so he's eating scoops of that, scoops of almond butter, scoops of hazelnut butter. So lots and lots of calories, lots of fat there. There will be a little bit of carbs in there. Lots of potatoes. Potatoes are rich in our minerals, but also protein. So it's more calories. And because he lives with me, it's generally more the healthier calories, and I watch the inflammation and stuff, but that really is how it works. So iodine can help you metabolize the food better and utilize it better, but it's not necessarily going to help you gain weight, especially if it's speeding up your metabolism. A faster metabolism is going to burn more energy. Did that answer your question, Michaela? Then Christy, I think you said so you're taking magnesium bisglycinate and it's the Renew brand. I'm taking it for muscle bone health mostly. Helps me, where is that gone? Shoot. Helps me sleep, I think. Well, yeah, because magnesium is a muscle relaxant. Bisglycinate, like I mentioned, it can work for some people. For many people, it doesn't. It's more of a gentler form of magnesium, which is why I think most practitioners will recommend magnesium bisglycinate first, because they're kind of taking that safer route. So it can help. Let me see the Renew brands. Renew. Of course, my internet's not going to work, because that's what happens. Oh yeah, I recognize that. That brand is okay. Renew Actives Magnesium Glycinate. Yeah, it looks like it's an active form of magnesium as well, so a bit more bioavailable. And you know what? If you take something and you feel it's benefiting you, I spoke about this in something the other day, on whether or not it's the placebo effect. It doesn't matter. If you feel an improvement, whether or not it's working for you. So for some people it is just a placebo effect. For other people it's actually working. But you'll know, because you know your body best. You know it way better than me. All I'm doing is giving some recommendations and guidelines, but at the end of the day, you're going to say, hey, this made me feel crappy, this gave me the runs, this helped me sleep, I have loads of energy. You're going to know your body. So does anyone else have any questions? I think we covered quite a lot. I can always post the studies if anyone wants to see them. I know most people don't have time for that and usually just trust what I say. I hope you found this helpful. I'm going to upload it to YouTube, then I'll upload it to the podcast as well. So if you know anyone that might benefit, please share it with them, because like the information's here. A lot of people are having challenges, so why wouldn't we share the information and just help them out? Any more questions? Thank you guys for sticking with me. Michaela, I hope you found this helpful. Michaela, I will respond to your text message. Just been super busy, but now this is done. So it's another thing off my list. Okay, good night everyone. Thank you for spending some of your summer evening with me. I really appreciate it. And if anyone does have any last minute questions, put them in the comments and I'll keep an eye out for them. Okay, bye-bye everyone. Thanks for sticking around, Penny. It was nice to have you.